Welcome, everyone. My name is Annie Colonna, and I'm a product manager on Microsoft Approvals. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to walk through approvals and talk a little bit about what's available today, what's relevant to your industry, and also talk a little bit about what's coming. So you'll get kind of an advanced preview of things that we're currently developing today. And then after that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Dara, who's going to talk about the exciting new things that are happening in the eSign space at Microsoft. So with that, I'll go ahead and just jump right in. And for those of you who have not yet used Approvals, Approvals is an app within Teams that's on by default for all users. And what it does is it helps users engage with their approval processes and kind of formalize them and centralize them into one place. So say, for example, a lot of in organizations, we heard a lot of people who would go through decision-making processes and they were doing them informally, having these hallway conversations or doing them over email, and things were getting lost. And there wasn't really like a central place to track when decisions were being made and who was responsible for approving those decisions. And so that's why we created Approvals. So I'm going to go ahead right into a demo because I think that's the best way to go ahead and get a sense of how this works. So as I mentioned before, Approvals is on by default for everyone who has Teams. And if you can use the existing Teams functionality, go ahead and pin that to your left rail as I've done in this demo tenant. So in this scenario, let's say that I'm Megan and I work in sales, and one of our customers is requesting a discount rate that's a little bit higher than I would normally approve. And so I can do that, and I think that if I do that, I'll be able to close that deal, but I want to get my manager's approval in order to assign that rate to that customer. So this is what the Approvals app looks like. I've got my Approvals hub is what we can kind of see the detailed list of all the approvals that I've received, as well as all of the ones that I've sent. And if I want to go ahead and create that new approval request, I'll hit this button in the top right. And then for this demo, I'm just going to do a basic approval. So I'll request a basic approval, and I'll say we want a discount rate of 5% for, let's say, like Widget Incorporated. And then I'll go ahead and add an approver. And here I can go ahead and add multiple approvers. I can add one approver, and then I can also require a response from all recipients, or I can say that anybody who responds to this can go ahead and has the authority to approve it. If there's any more information needed, I can say like as per our recent call. And then I can also allow some custom responses if I would like to have something beyond approve or decline. So I'm going to go ahead and send that. And then I'll go ahead and switch over to the other person that has just received that approval. So if I'm Megan's manager and I've received that approval, then I will get a notification within Teams. So I'll see in my notification feed the details of the approval, exactly who sent it, when it was sent, and then I can add some comments. I can add justifications, and then I'll go ahead and approve the approval. So that's kind of how the basic approval works. There's a couple different options that we've got outlined on this flow chart here. In addition to starting an approval from the Approval Hub, you can also start an approval from a chat or a channel. And as well as we've got some integration points that we'll talk about a little bit later. So one of the things that is really important for specific industries like healthcare and life sciences is, of course, auditing. And that's one thing that Approvals does offer is not only a formalized place to see all of your decisions, but also a way to have those decisions captured in a way that you can go back and audit a little. So if I switch over to my admin persona, then I can actually look at what that looks like within the Security and Compliance Center. So within M365 Security and Compliance Center, I can go ahead and do an audit search, which I've already set up, and then I can go ahead and look at all of the approval actions that have happened. So this will capture data like when approval requests were received, who has viewed the approval request, and then of course things like who has actually approved it. So the approval process just comes with this, and it is makes it a lot easier to track things and have a formalized audit process in your industry workflows. The other thing that I want to point out is that approvals today, I know that most users view approvals within Teams, but approvals really is a platform that's being built out within an entire ecosystem. So within approvals, you'll get other touch points into Microsoft products beyond Teams. So I'll show you an example of one of those in a couple of minutes. We're working on lighting up approvals within the M365 universe, getting into products like Word and PowerPoint, as well as Outlook, because of course, a lot of our approval processes are generated from emails. In addition to that, we've got some built-in e-signature approvals that already exist today. And then, of course, the future of our e-signature platform that Dara is going to talk a little bit about. And another thing I want to point out is we are working today on making approvals platform extensible. So our Graph APIs for approvals are in private preview, and I'll talk a little bit about what is in that preview version of our Graph APIs. So let's go ahead and take a look at what one of those interaction points will look like. So if I switch back to Megan's persona and say, for example, I've got an annual sales report and I need somebody to sign off on it before I actually publish it out to the rest of the company. If I'm in Word, we're introducing a new button. And again, this is coming soon. We expect this to launch sometime next year, but we have a working demo right now. So if I go into the Review tab in Word, I can create an approval request. And then I can either choose a templated request or a basic request. So I'll put a basic request that by default, the name of the request is going to be the title of the document. Again, I'll go ahead and submit this for administrator approval. And then say I've got a tight deadline on this, so I'll mark it as important. And then add a little bit of a description and send it off. And similar to the last approval we saw, the receiver is going to get a notification, and then they'll see the importance reflected as well as a link out to the document that they're approving. And in addition to that, if I go into my approvals hub, one of the other things that we're doing as we expand out our capabilities across approvals is we're leveraging the source column here. So you will be able to see exactly what product these approvals are coming through. So if, say, for example, if I have an approval coming through Outlook, it will say Outlook, Word will say Word, and so on. So that's another thing that's that is going to be new within some of these new releases. So I did promise to talk a little bit about Graph APIs. So let me go ahead and get those up. So with the Graph APIs, what you can do is you can use these Graph APIs to automate workflows and integrate approvals with your business applications. So say, for example, if you have a process where you want an application that you've built or something to go ahead and create an automatic approval, you can go ahead and have the trigger be a business application to just automatically create an approval based on a specific action, and it will show in your approvals hub. So this is a great way to integrate into existing business processes at your organization and still leverage kind of like the goodness of approvals and all of the auditing capabilities that come with. So the first set of APIs that we're releasing are kind of your basic create, write, update, and delete or CRUD operations. So you'll be able to create a new approval request. An example there, of course, would be the one I just talked about, where you're kind of using a business application to create an approval and then tracking that approval through the life cycle. You could also get a list of approvals per user. A lot of the customer requests that we get are around reporting. So this set of Graph APIs is a great resource to be able to build out reports so that you can get the business intelligence data that you need about all of the approvals that are happening within your organization. The other thing that you could do is you can get an approval based on an approval ID. And what that will let you do is update your business application with the data required to kind of show the user the most relevant thing. So say, for example, in the business application, if I have a field for approval status, then I could go ahead and display that approval status within my business application and then potentially, do actions based on that. If the approval hasn't been completed yet, I could create something in my app to allow for a follow-up. And then, of course, you can understand the details beyond the data of what all of the approvals are. So that's kind of what we're doing with our Graph APIs. So I see a question. Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I see Dustin asking, will e-signature capabilities be introduced as part of approvals itself? That's a fantastic question. So let me, it's almost like Dustin is listening, is reading the future and what I'm going to show next. So wait, let me go back to also Noah's question first before I address Dustin's. So Noah's, is there any plans to add the approvals application as an application in Logic apps? I notice at the moment it's just an application available in Power Automate. So as far as there isn't plans to add it into Logic apps, yeah, we kind of made the bet on the Power Automate platform. But no, I'd love to hear more about, what you would like to do with Logic apps that you can't do with Power Automate, and then that's something that we could take into consideration in our product group, because that would be really, that would be good to understand that flow. Okay, so going back to Dustin's question about e-signature capabilities as part of approvals, one of the things that we did with approvals is we built out this deep integration, DocuSign, and also Adobe Sign. So if I am going back in as Megan, as my demo persona, and I want to go ahead and create a approval request that is actually an integration with Adobe, I can go ahead and create a new approval request and then select one of these two types of like eSign specific approval request. So say, for example, my organization uses Adobe Sign. I'd want to pick Adobe Sign. We also have a very similar integration built with DocuSign, so that is available for you as well. So if I hit Adobe Sign, then I can say that I want some signatures on a purchasing permissions agreement, and I can go ahead and add an attachment. So this can either pull from your OneDrive, it can pull from the files that are already in your Adobe, and then I can go ahead and select a file and then add who I want to sign this. So let's say I want the same admin person to sign it. And then, oh yeah, it's going to Jerry's question. I can go ahead and add people in order. So say, for example, one of the requests that we get a lot is for sequential approvals, or to be able to do things in a specific order, because oftentimes you don't want to be bothering somebody who's really high up in your company until everybody below has sort of aligned on something. So if I want to add additional recipients, maybe I want a sign off from the finance department first, and then it escalates to the CFO or something like that. So once I've selected who this is sending to, I go ahead and click prepare. And as that is going through, what it does is it gives you this nice like preview here, and I can go ahead and drag and drop signature fields into the document itself. So I can say, let's just say I need a signature here. And then, on the first page, maybe this is again more common for second pages, I need some initials. And then I go ahead and click send. So what that looks like on the other side, if I'm receiving it, is I can go into Adobe Sign, and then I can see here all of the signature requests that I have. And then if I click on the purchasing permissions agreement as just sent, then if I hit review, it'll take me into that same sort of preview or stage view, and it will highlight exactly where I need to take action. So I can kind of click here to sign. I have a couple of different options that we've, of course, just passed through directly from Adobe, where you can type, draw, upload an image of a signature, or sign on a mobile device. So I'll go ahead and just use the default here. And then I'll also go ahead and initial. Once that's done, I can go ahead and click to sign. And that will then be reflected back in, let me go back to the original person. Back in Megan's, it should be reflected there. Oh, it looks like I have an error in my demo tenant. It should be, it should be coming back as approved. If the demo daemons hadn't messed with that today, I'm sorry. I might have reset something incorrectly right before this call. But let's
quick
yeah, go
question
ahead.
on that. That somebody just pinged me that I might, I just want the whole group to hear as well too. With these approvals, retention policy, is there a retention policy on these approvals that we're sending?
That's a great question. So by default, like they just unless your admin has done something specific, they're just going to stay in the list pretty much forever. And so and that will be the same with the data that is sending through to the Security and Compliance Center. So all of your audit data. Again, the admin can have a little bit more fine-grained control over that, and they can set their retention policy to be less. But I'm like, again, I'll double check about this, but I'm 80% sure that it just kind of keeps it by default, just keeps it as long as it can, like forever.
Okay, and I think you touched on the second question, asked me about auditing. There are app log audits that can be viewed, correct, for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I go into the Security and Compliance Center, and if I am, say, for example, going into my audit section here, whoops, then I will have to re-sign in again. And then once I get signed in here, one of the things that's kind of nice is let's go ahead and just search for specific activities. So here you can kind of see all of your Microsoft Teams approvals activities. So I can get audit logs on anything that's created or viewed or approved, rejected, canceled. And that really gives me a lot of flexibility about what data there is there. And then looks like we've got another question from Dustin. Does it require a third-party e-signature application like license, like Adobe or DocuSign? It does. So in order to use these integrations, like the Adobe Sign or the DocuSign integration, it means that you would have to have a license for these other products in addition to like in order to unlock using that in Teams. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Dara, and I'll keep an eye on the chat for questions, but and also if you have any other feedback about things you'd like to see that aren't in approvals today, I would love to hear it. And before I pass to Dara, I'm going to go ahead and reshare so he can go ahead and take control.
All right. Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks Annie for the presentation. It was really good. It's like a good segue to what we're trying to do with Microsoft Syntex e-signature. I'm very excited to tell you and to inform you, in case you haven't heard, that we are building our own e-signature solution. We've heard over the last couple of years, many years, customers have asked us, why doesn't Microsoft have an e-signature solution? And we've heard you loud and clear, and now we're building this. So in June 2023, this was also announced in the Ignite session that happened earlier in the year, like a couple of months ago. But we are launching the first version of the product in June, and that will come with the create. Obviously, users will be able to create an e-signature request, and this will be both internal and external users. You'll be able to have as many recipients as you would wish. Someone is raising their hand. I'm not sure if that's for me or for somebody else.
Yeah, so just to kind of call out, sorry to interrupt. If you have a question, if you could post it in the chat, because we have disabled voice in this event. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, obviously, like in June, we'll have like the create. A user will be able to create an eSign request. Obviously, they will also be able to cancel it. Admin will have some level of configuration where they can specify which eSign providers that they want to enable for their tenant. For example, Annie showed Adobe and DocuSign in the previous demo, and now we're adding eSignature. And the admin may decide to say we don't want to show those other two providers. We are only going to be supporting Syntex. Then finally, the recipients will be able to review being that they'll be able to sign the documents or decline the signature. They'll be able to add other signature fields that have been requested by them. For example, if the creator of the request is saying that they want the recipients to also add in their initials, they'll be able to do just that. And then to view and to track the resent that have been sent out, we'll give users a way to track requests both in SharePoint and in the Approvals app. I think the Approvals app option is kind of visual to everybody now since Annie just ran through that. But in addition to that, we'll also be able to, track these requests within SharePoint as well. One pain point that we've heard from customers is that when they use these other third-party providers like Adobe and DocuSign, it's always a pain for them to move these documents back into SharePoint. So we are offering a feature where documents are automatically stored back into SharePoint so that it abstracts all of that effort from the user. And finally, the kind of licensing model that we're going with would be per consumption, per usage consumption. So it won't be like a one-time fee. It would depend on how much you're actually consuming the solution itself. I will go into like a prototype of how we're thinking about it. Caveat here is that a lot of the designs or the prototype that I would show are still being worked on at the moment. So whatever you see now may not be like the final thing that will launch in June, but at least it will give you an idea of, what is coming. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to move to the, oh yeah, okay. So this is Daniela. Daniela is requesting wants to request for an e-signature from like a friend or from our boss, for example. And this is going to be done within SharePoint. So what she does is she goes into SharePoint, she selects the document that she needs the signature to be on. In this example, she's going to select the contoso agreement document, and then she opens that up. That opens up within SharePoint viewer, the document viewer within SharePoint as well. And what they'll see, you can see now that there's an option where that they can select, which takes them to the send signature option is what is the new thing that we're introducing for this capability and for this eSign solution. So they select the send for signature, and then they begin to type in the recipient that they require their signature. This is not showing it very well, but what they will do actually is they will put in the email address of whoever the recipient or whoever the signer is supposed to be. And as I mentioned before, they can have multiple signers as they wish. If it's something that needs to be completed in the particular order, they can order it as they wish as well. And finally, they'll be able to add in a message as well. And once all the messaging has been added and the recipients of the signers have been added, the next thing they will do is to, click on the add signature fields. Adding the signature fields just opens up the signature fields that they could add to this document. As you would see for Serena, she has all these different signature fields that may be requested from her. For example, they might need their signature or their initials or the dates and name and so on and so forth. So what they will do in this example is they'll click on that signature field and drag it all the way to the field, and they'll do exactly the same thing with the second recipient as well. And once that is done, what happens immediately is that the recipients receive a notification, an email notification. We're showing this in Outlook, but this can as well be any form of email address. It could be like a Gmail address or a Microsoft address or whatever address that your organization uses. So once the email comes in, the next thing they will do is to review the document. Clicking on the review documents kind of just opens up the document that has been shared, the eSign request that has been shared with them. And then they can, sign the document and provide the details that have been requested on them. In this example, they've added in the dates as well as, appended their signature to the document. And the same exact scenario is going to happen for the second recipient. I won't do like the second recipient flow because it's exactly the same as I just showed you. So once all the signature fields have been added, the next thing they will do is to click on the complete button. And at this stage, the job is done for the signer as long as they're happy. On the creator side, who is Darlena? How is she able to, track all of things that are going on? She's able to track in Teams and approvals. As Annie showed in her demo, you'd see that the person on the other side will receive notification through the approvals app within Teams. They can track it on the list view as shown by Annie in the previous screen, in the previous demo as well. Also, as everybody continues to sign or decline to sign, they receive email notification at every stage of the eSign process. And finally, within SharePoint, they would also be able to see who has signed and who hasn't signed. They'll be able to track the progress of, the entire signature. And when everything is all done, Daniela, who is the creator or the requester of the eSign, gets a final notification, a final email to say everybody has, signed the document. One thing that you would notice from this screen is that there's a new folder that's been created on this screen. So there's a signed folder that is kind of created here automatically within the same folder that the request came out from. The original document that went out with the request, right? There's this folder that is being created within the same folder. In the future, we'll also be able to, configure, users will be able to configure where exactly they want these documents to be saved. So the first time, in this example that I'm showing, the first time that, a user creates a request in a particular folder, a signed folder is created within that folder. A subfolder is created within that folder. So in this example, the signed folder, and then they click into that and you can see now that consortium agreement has now been signed and been automatically saved inside of this folder. So it removes all the effort of them trying to, move the signed document from folder to folder or across different platforms. Finally, the audit trail. So at the end of the signing process, Daniela, who is the creator of the request, when she opens up the signed document, she can see that it's been signed. On the other end, the signers will also receive a notification on their end to say everybody has signed the document, and they will also receive, a copy of the signed document. And if they scroll all the way to the end of the document, we're going to embed or attach the audit trail. So audit trail include things like who has signed the document, who has viewed the document, what's the status of the document, and things like that. So that was like a very quick run through of what we are intending to light up by June 2023. Are there any questions, or did I run too fast?
So there is a question from Samuel in there. Sorry if you said this. Is this available to request signatures from internal and external people?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. That's the plan at the moment. The plan is to enable signature requests to go to both internal as well as external recipients. Yes, correct.
If there's any other questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat.
Okay.
And did you want to pop up the other slides there?
Yeah, sure.
Dara, question. We'll also continue supporting Adobe Sign and DocuSign as part of the syntax as well. So we'll have 3 e-signature scenarios, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So Adobe eSign, Adobe and DocuSign will continue to be there. We haven't made any decision to stop support for those providers. In fact, we want to enable that within SharePoint as well. So we're continuing to invest in enabling customers to continue to use whichever providers that they currently use now. And we welcome them to switch to Syntex as well if they wish.
That's great. So we do
Wait.
apologize. We did have a third speaker here who fell ill, so we're ending a little bit early today. Before we sort of close out here, any more? Oh, looks like there's another question coming in about licensing.
Yeah, so licensing. So that is actually currently still being worked out at the moment. Initially, this will be available to only Syntex customers, but that's only initially. Eventually, we'll open this up to everybody, like every user, even if you do not have Syntex. And the goal here is that it would be per consumption basis. It wouldn't be like a one-time license that you have to pay. You would pay only what you use, basically.
That's great.
Does
Yeah,
that answer
thank
the
you.
question?
I can follow up if there's more questions on licensing. We'll get back to you on that there. That's great. Thank you. A couple more questions are coming in there.
Oh yeah, any moves to make approval standalone so it's easier to use external partners. You don't need to add things maintain or content. Eric, I'm not exactly sure that I get the question.
I can take that one, Dara.
Yeah.
So yeah, so approvals like we're building toward that, like with the APIs that we're creating, as well as the deeper integration with other different product groups. We are trying to make approvals a little bit more of a platform and more of its own unique unit of feature and functionality within the M365 portfolio. So we are definitely moving toward a place where it is more standalone. And I think that the APIs are certainly the first step in making sure that approvals is available to be used with external partners. And then that way you would be able to, and then once we have the Outlook integration as well, then you could have a scenario where with the Graph API integration with that external partner and with the future development on Outlook, you could have a solution that is an approval solution that actually doesn't have any involvement from team at all. From teams. You could have something where you are building an approvals via the Graph APIs into an external partner solution, and then the notification is actually going through Outlook instead of Teams. So that's a good question. That is something that we're building toward.
And it looks like there's another question for you in the chat.
Yeah, but integration with Forms, Annie, will there be any type of integration into Microsoft Forms?
Oh, that's a great question. So we do have an existing integration with approvals and forms where we that's how we built the approvals templates on top of Microsoft Forms. So there is the ability, if somebody wants to have a very specific approval where they have different fields than the existing ones that you see in your basic approval. So say, for example, if I want to submit a travel request, I could create a form that says that you have to fill out, where you're going, how much your ticket cost, and then maybe add your airline ticket number or something like that. And that's an example of how you could use form. Oh wait, and so thanks, Frank. Frank's saying that not approval, but to grab signatures. That I don't think we're working on anything on the approval side, but Dara, on the Syntex side, is there a forms integration?
No, we're not thinking in that line at the moment. No.
And then there was one more question here about e-discovery via SharePoint and Forms.
Is this for a signature?
Carrie, are you able to? Yep, she said yes for e-signature.
Yeah, so yes for SharePoint. Forms, not at the moment. That's not something we're thinking about.
Okay. If there are no more questions, or if you do decide that you have more questions, feel free to throw them in here and we'll get them answered and out to everybody. If you can, there is on the left-hand side there, if you can grab your phone, maybe grab a survey link there. Yep, thank you for putting that in there, Sarah. As well as take a look if you haven't signed up for a couple more amazing sessions that are happening starting tomorrow, Thursday, and ending on Friday. Plenty of room. Feel free to jump in there and sign up. And again, I just want to thank Annie and Dara for this presentation. We really appreciate what you guys do and everything you've done for us.
An extra thanks to Dara for staying up so late. He's in Dublin, everyone.
Thank you, Dar. I appreciate that. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your afternoon, Dara, evening for you. And we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
it's one other note, Jerry, I see your question in the window. So we are posting all of the videos and presentations for the summit out on the HLS blog. So I will post that link. Yes, it's posted on the same website. So they're all on the same site. You can also search out there on YouTube under Health and Life Science. That's where the original videos are posted, but we are uploading it to the site. It just because these videos based off of our policy don't stay up very long. So to keep the videos live, this is the best way to post them out externally. So Jonathan will send out an email today, once again, just recapping with the survey, but definitely check out the blog if you want access to this video and content.
And if you haven't had an opportunity, don't forget to sign up for tomorrow, one day. We've got 2 on Thursday and 1 more on Friday. So 4 more great sessions coming for the next 3 days. Can't beat that at the Teams Productivity Summit Fall Winter 2022.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you
Thanks,
tomorrow.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Yeah,
Have a good one.
thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.